What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Check the Kick. Sherdog.com is the website. I am the host, Devin. We are back off of a pretty interesting weekend of fights over at the Apex. I'm glad we're not in the Apex this week, and we're going to Chicago, get a deep dish pizza. I've never been to Chicago. I've been to a lot of states. I have driven from south, like from literally the Keys, the Florida Keys, south of Miami, all the way to like Seattle several times. So I've been to a lot of states, but I've never been to Chicago. One I kind of always went by, but I have driven through Illinois. Pretty cool weekend of fights. We had some interesting stuff go down in the Apex, some pretty cool knockouts. We'll run through that card real quick. Khalil Roundtree we have at home. Eric McConaughey kind of in a little bit of a controversial decision, defeated Cody Brundage. Gabriela Hernandez beat Julia Solirenko. DC, bro. How do you not know what Lethwei is? Lethwei is like Muay Thai, but over in Burma, and they use like a rope hand wrap, and they're allowed to headbutt. And, you know, like in MMA or in boxing, if you get knocked the fuck out, you're done, the fight's over. Well, in Lethwei, there are some certain Lethwei matches where like you'll get knocked out and they'll like bring you to the corner and they'll like throw some water on your face and be like, get back out there, kid, you're fine, after getting knocked the fuck out. Like that's how people die. This weekend in boxing, we actually had two Japanese fighters pass away that fought on the same card, which is like, people pass away from boxing. You know, it's really, really sad, but two in the same card is like pretty freaking scary. Uros Medic beat Gilbert Urbina in a really dope kind of back and forth 1 minute of chaos where he himself got rocked and then he came back and crushed Gilbert Urbina. Jocelyn Edwards defeated Priscilla Cachoeira in a really fun fight. Like, Jocelyn Edwards is on a 3-fight win streak with all finishes. Like, Keith Schillen, fellow Sherdog associate, like, picked Jocelyn Edwards in his MMA fantasy, man. I'm like, sure. I mean, I assumed he was picking her as a joke. Maybe he'll reach out to me and tell me I'm wrong, but I thought it was a joke. No, joke's on me. She's out there whipping ass. Elijah Smith got like the knockout of the year. He literally power bombed Tsuyomi Kazama. Poor dude. Like he was. This is, you know, I'm never going to be one to be like jiu-jitsu doesn't work anymore, because that's not true at all. But like, boy, oh boy, if you are, that whole fight was just like chaos, tons of scrambles. Kazama was like going for knee bars, going for heel hooks, really trying to go for just like tons of leg entanglements. Elijah's 23. He looked really good and athletic. Kazama starts throwing up this fucking triangle, and a la Rampage Jackson, like, don't take this like from me. Yeah, because I'm not like I don't compete in MMA. I do have a UFC belt, but I don't participate in like MMA at all. But if you're on bottom and you're going for a triangle and you're starting to get maybe the triangle locked in, and the opponent lifts you up full on power bomb, like, you have the opportunity to just disengage. And yeah, I know you can get slammed into the triangle and it just gets deeper, or you can get fucking bonked on the back of your head, which is like the worst place to take any head damage, like the back of your head, because your spinal column and shit. But yeah, Kazama got straight up power bombed, like boom, up over the top of his head. Elijah Smith had him up over the top of his head. The back of his head recoiled, boom, smashed the canvas. And then while that happened, Elijah Smith's forehead, like the hardest part of your head, smashed onto Kazama's head. And then, you know, he wasn't, like, you could tell his bell was kind of rung from it a little bit, but then he gets up and just lands these two, like, vicious standing uppercut, you know, downward, like, big hooks, kind of a la Yoel Romero and Luke Rockhold, smashing Kazama's fucking head. That was really, really cool. That was cool shit. Julius Walker and Rafael Sequeira had like the most light heavyweight fight, like the most unranked light heavyweight fight that fucking exists. Just funny chaos. Like, it was actually kind of entertaining. Christian Leroy Duncan crushed Eric Anders with a beautiful spinning back elbow. and then hit him with a barrage of shots against the cage. That was cool. G Matsumoto defeated Miles Johns in a really, really close fight that like could have gone Miles Johns' way. Andre Fili defeated Christian Rodriguez. He looked really good. His counterboxing looked good. Yasmin Lucindo, the whole fucking fight. I was about to turn my TV off. Defeated Angela Hill. This is the first time Angela Hill's kind of looked old in a fight. Steve Erceg almost got absolutely killed by Ode Osbourne and then came back and won a fight where it was still really close and he could have, another night with another 3 judges, could have lost that fight. And man, Steve Erceg's defensive boxing has just been absolutely exposed. Like the way he will just throw shots and then exit the pocket, like he's got to go. He is a good fighter and he has like a mind for this and he's like a crafty pocket boxer, but what he's an okay wrestler with like good grappling. And he's offensively like a good pocket boxer, but bro, like I just think about how someone like Joshua Van would just make him pay for those openings the same way Ode Osbourne did on like just on repeat until he was knocked dead. How Kai Kara France did it. Brandon Moreno had success like hitting him on the exits, and I'm just like not. I was really high on Erceg, and then now I'm just like kind of pretty deflated on him. And I'm also equally deflated on Ode Osbourne, but like it's Ode Osbourne. He was a huge underdog here. Like Ode lost this fight more than Erceg did. Like he kind of just chucked this one in the bin. He threw this fight away. But most importantly, the real cherry on the top of this card that really wasn't a bad Apex card. Like I just made a point to sit down on my couch and like watch the whole thing live. I was talking shit in the Sherdog Slack with the boys. It was okay. It was a pretty good time. But Fluffy, like we're here to talk about Fluffy. Dean Thomas said that this was the best middleweight performance he's seen in 3 years. I would probably not argue with him. DC claimed Fluffy as his favorite fighter now in the UFC. I wouldn't argue that either. He is a really fucking cool to watch. Fluffy is a frumpy-bodied, undersized middleweight who could really just like be a welterweight, even though he has these weird weight cutting issues. And I was really concerned about that going into this fight after he had like go back and weigh in again on Friday. Clearly that's neither here nor there. Like he said in the post-fight that he, really wanted to show everyone what he's made of. He went into the Brendan Allen fight with 2 fucked up ribs, 2, torn ribs, and he was just all messed up and he wanted to prove a point. Well, bro, you surely proved the point. He had like a kind of close but clear round in the first round, and then like on my scorecard just 2 10-8s, and then I put this in the Sherdog Slack. Like in the second round I was like, this fight doesn't go 8 more minutes. Like there's no way there's another round and a half that goes by. Like it's just not gonna happen. Oh, and sure as shit, like Fluffy's ability to just like be in your face, be in the pocket. He's gotten better with rolling with punches. His step in elbows, like on the he's just offensive everywhere, and that's really his thing. Where like if you get with him into the clinch or like a little bit tight in like hook or elbow range, he's like fighting the wrist, crushing you with big elbows on the clinch breaks, or double jabbing and then throwing crosses and then closing the distance and then like just mixing up his wrestling. He's like hitting slip and rip counters on the lead day. Like his boxing and striking look good, but his pressure, his grappling, his takedown abilities, like he got a standing arm triangle and then just like, and there's a wrestling term for this. And, to mention Keith again, Keith would know what this is called, but he got a standing arm triangle and then just like hip toss Delize, who was like 25 to 30 pounds more heavy than him probably on fight night, at least 20. Like Dolidze's like 6'3", 6'4", fought at 205. Fluffy could easily cut to welterweight. That's another thing that made this really impressive. Like he bodied a big fucking dude. Like Dolidze has fought at light heavyweight, like has multiple fights at light heavyweight in the UFC. And like he just fucking bodied him. Like this wasn't an ass whipping. This was just like a bullying. Where after the third round, I was just like, his corner could throw the towel in, and in boxing you would see it, but you won't see it here. Eric Nixick is giving him like coaching advice, like, all right, what we need you to do is like get on the front foot, force him backward, and it's like, dude, you even knew that you were in there just doing a song and dance. Like you knew. After the second round, everyone watching on, I was going to say everyone in the arena, but there was like 4 people in there. Everyone in the Apex definitely fucking knew. Everyone watching knew that this was just curtains already for Dolidze. Dolidze was cheating so much in the fight, and like, you know, Herb like stopped it sometimes, but like it didn't even fucking matter. It was funny, those moments where he's grabbing the glove and Fluffy's just like showing Herb, being like, look, he's grabbing my glove, and then he just goes back to whipping his ass again. This was just, and what I say by a bullying, he was like taking Dolidze down, lumping him up with ground and pound, and then Dolidze would try to roll for some leg entanglement, and he's like, I'm just going to make you stand back up again. And, I mean, if you're listening to this show, go stop what you're doing, go lay flat on the ground on your back, stand up as fast as you can, do that 20 times. You're going to be absolutely fucking gassed. And that doesn't include like all the other aspects of the fight that they're in, and not to mention that they're in a fight, like fighting for their lives in a fist fight in their underwear in a cage for the UFC, for us. So yeah, just put him through like this CrossFit style workout where he's like, you know, force him to get up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down, you know, doing burpees and fucking wind sprints basically. And then the like closing moments of this fight, which I thought was fucking incredible, where Dolidze just like is now have grabbed the fence like 5 times. Herb doesn't even like stop the action because Fluffy's beating the fuck out of him, but he's like still cheating up against the cage where he's like kind of crumbled over, grabbing onto the cage to try to get himself up. Herb just does 1 point, you know, and like, so we're on our way to a 10-7 round at that point because it was already a 10-8. And Fluffy's just like, fuck it. And he's like a downed opponent and just knees him straight in the head. And then like, it's like, well, it's a cheat for a cheat, kind of like, you know, like it was on the cusp of like grounded opponent, just started kneeing him in the head. And then Dolidze kind of like rolled back after getting kneed in the dome. And then Fluffy just like no hooks in, standing rear naked choke where like it looked like he was dragging it. Like, you ever see those videos online of like a crazy person goes to a store or something and like they get like drug out by security, or like a bouncer dragging a drunk dude like out of a bar, like just straight up like rear naked choke, like kind of like a between like a bulldog choke and a rear naked choke, just how gruesome it looked. And he was just dragging Dolidze backward, taking steps back. Just, I mean, I couldn't imagine how terrible that would have been. You can, you know, your legs and feet are one way and you're getting pulled the other direction, getting choked. Sounds like a fucking horror movie. 4th round, Dolidze was tapping us. Dolidze was ready to get out of there as quick as possible. So Dolidze taps. Fluffy, man, like, we're gonna talk about middleweights at the end of the show again for the main event this weekend. But fuck, man, Fluffy's gonna be a real tough customer. I may just pick him in every fight moving forward. And I did pick Fluffy. I thought it would be a lot closer, but no, like he proved me wrong. I don't even feel right. I thought it was going to be a close fight through the first and second, and then Fluffy would pull away. No, this fight was like, Fluffy is not a slow starter that wins the ends of the rounds. He's kind of doing that thing that Joshua Van is now doing, where it's like, I got the cardio. He said he could fight 10 rounds. Like, he was also really incredible that Merab was in Dolidze's corner for this. Sorry, sip of water. Thought it was incredible that Merab was in Delizio's corner for this too, because like he was out there just like doing a Merabing type of just the offensive cardio for Fluffy, just fucking incredible. But I don't think I'm gonna pick against him, even if it's like against the winner of this weekend, because yeah, we'll talk about that later. But if Khamzat goes out there and just fucking clubs Dricus and kills him in 1 second, I really don't know anything else. I didn't learn anything about Khamzat. I'm just realizing, he just kind of is supposed to do that to everybody. If Dricus goes out there, outlasts Khamzat, and then like finishes him late or wins 3, 4, and 5, I didn't really learn anything about Dricus or either one of those guys. Not to teach me anything about how it would be in a fight with Fluffy. Like, Fluffy is starting strong, putting dudes on the back foot, sticking them with good jabs, crushing them in the clinch. His kicks were pretty good. Like Delizio was, landing that leg kick. Like, I don't know if I'm picking against Fluffy. I do want to see him get like a big fight against I want him to fight a former contender in the division. Sean Strickland was suspended by the Nevada State Athletic Commission. I don't know what Sean Strickland's going to do next, and him and Fluffy would be a very applicable fight. I think that would make tons of sense. And it is a winnable fight for Fluffy. I think every fight in this division is going to be fucking winnable for him, to be honest. And he should be like probably a 2 or 3 to 1 favorite against Strickland, like a pretty big favorite. But the fight I really want to see him in is a guy that, some people call the second best middleweight in the division. I think we're learning that probably wasn't true. Or maybe that's just my opinion. But I want to see him fight Israel Adesanya. I really want to see Fluffy fight Izzy. Reason being is it's like the UFC squeezed all the juice from Izzy. Like, they're not like, he's not in fighting for a title, so he's not going to be like a big star that's a B-side fighting for a title again. Like, that's not going to happen. And he's still a big enough name, former champion, the title defenses. And I think it's I think Fluffy will run him over. Like, if Strickland ate him alive with forward pressure, I can't imagine. I mean, Izzy never fought a guy like Fluffy. I really want to see that fight. I think it's a good opportunity for Fluffy. I think the UFC should do something like that to try to make him a big name, make it a 5-round co-main event on a card at the end of the year. Moving on to the middle segment of the show, What's Hot? We are going to talk about 2 topics this week. First thing we're going to talk about is the PFL. The PFL had a really cool weekend. They had a bunch of really, really incredible fights. PFL Africa went out with an absolute bang. Like, Dwight Joseph throwing this like spinning back kick, getting blocked, and then going to this like insane jump knee. Go to the PFL's page. It like just absolutely incredible. A ton of just like detonations where like people were just getting blown up. So it was all around like a really fun and interesting card, and it happened like before the UFC. It was done before the UFC was on, so like they did it right. There are people already on ESPN Plus, people already have ESPN. Like, just get in there and chuck it on. But what I'm here to talk about is kind of PFL standings and PFL Africa. This was really like the first PFL Africa show I paid close attention to. Was it about a year ago? Francis Ngannou signed on as the ambassador for MMA in Africa for the PFL. And Don Davis has recently come out and said, and I'm going to read his quote, "I'm not going to hide it. I expected him. This is part of the vision so that all those fighters out there don't have to leave the continent like he did. We worked for 2 years. I'm disappointed." So 2 years. I'm so sorry. So Francis Ngannou has not showed up at any of these PFL Africa cards when I don't know if he's contractually obligated to do so, but I feel like he's. I mean, you're the chairman of like you're the ambassador of like African MMA or whatever for the PFL, like whatever that special role they gave him is titled. Like you're not showing up. When the whole UFC and Francis Ngannou thing was going down, I was kind of indifferent because I thought Francis's management team was probably not handling it the best way because his management team at that time, I don't know if he's still under the same team, but his team under that time had like managed other people and other, you know, he wasn't an MMA manager. So I don't think that his manager like understood who he was playing ball with when it comes to the UFC. Like doing business with the UFC, like it's different than any sport, anything in the world. Like it's its own thing. They're their own beast, and they don't really bend or fold for anyone, even people like Francis Ngannou, you know? So I thought that was just like mishandling on the UFC's part and on Francis Ngannou and his team's part. But now that he's not showing up to these PFL events, I'm kind of just like, you know, I don't know. There's got to be different things going on. Like he had that issue where he you know was involved in an accident where that young woman died back in Cameroon. I believe that he was not too long ago. So maybe it's a thing where he's like, I can't go back to Africa right now. I don't know. But I just find it kind of peculiar. I find it really interesting where it's like, you were their guy for this, and it would have been incredible because the UFC, the PFL loves to parade Habib around. I don't have a problem with that. I love Habib. You know, give him his gold star. But like anytime Habib's at a PFL event, like they're putting the camera on him, they're putting a mic in his face if they can, and this would have just been a big opportunity for the PFL and all those fighters there to like, holy shit, I get to meet Francis Ngannou. I can see that I can make this a reality. Like it's important for them because they get to see Francis Ngannou and it, you know, gives them something to fight for. It makes them want to stay with the PFL. It's just like a good look, you know, and that was his thing, and he hasn't been there. So I do find that really weird. And I don't know Francis' personal life, and he seems to have had a lot of like just tough things happen, you know, even once he's acquired the fame and money, like things have not been all the way easy for him. But I do also understand Don Davis's frustration, and it's not my thing. So I mean, at the end of the day, I don't care. But I could totally see why Don Davis is just like, this dude is supposed to be here and he didn't show up for work today. One more thing we do have to talk about. This morning when I woke up, I read some very interesting news. The UFC in 2026 will now be on Paramount Plus via stream. So apparently they're going to get away from the pay-per-view model. I don't know what that means for fighters. Maybe they can get some sort of just like incentive money. But fuck, if you're holding the belt, if you're a UFC champion and you listen to Check the Kick, call the UFC and try to have a fight before the end of the year, because this may be your last opportunity to earn pay-per-view points. Max Holloway, you're the BMF champ. That includes you, brother. Make the call. Let them know you want to get a fight in before the new deal so you can make your pay-per-view points. Pretty interesting, though. Like someone posted that, you know, between like ESPN Plus and like paying for every pay-per-view throughout the year with your monthly subscription on ESPN Plus and then paying the pay-per-view, it costs like almost $1,100 to be a UFC fan per year. Now it's like $60 for an annual pass or whatever they call it for a subscription, for Paramount Plus. So that'll just be really interesting. I don't know if like all of the cards will be on there. I'm not sure, but they're not going to Netflix. I'm actually happy about that. And you hear a lot of the other talking heads talk about, you know, ESPN Plus sucks. It really sucks. It's the worst app ever. And I always thought, I'm like, these dudes are just kind of being a bunch of bitches. Like, it's not that bad. No, I lied. I'm sorry. ESPN Plus is freaking terrible. The last 3 times I've tried to watch one of the 3 events since the last pay-per-view, the last like 3 fights of the card, the stream just freezes. I'll get in and out of the app. I'll reboot my device like I'm watching with the Roku. ESPN Plus via a Roku. Like, it's just consistent where like I'm missing this past weekend. Actually, there was like it froze, and then I got stuck on an ad that it wouldn't let me fast forward through. So I got in and out, left the app, and then Uros Medic is getting his hand raised, and I missed the whole, Gilbert Urbina fight. I had to like go back and rewatch it. Just little shit like that. Or even this weekend during the main event, like they go to Fluffy's corner to give corner advice, and I love to hear the corner advice. Fucking shit just freezes. I'm like, come on. Just frozen. I'm like, this is just incredibly terrible. So I'm happy to see them go away from this. What's funny is I downloaded Paramount Plus, just like the free trial, to watch the first 2 South Park episodes of the new South Park season. Whatever side you lean politically, if you can't find humor in the last 2 South Park episodes, something's wrong with you. They've got Cartman playing Charlie Kirk, debating college kids. Like, it's incredibly funny. So that's on Paramount. If you're on Paramount watching the fights next year, those will be there for you. Pretty cool though. Like, I'm excited to see what they do, because I wasn't part of the ES, but I was around when they, got on ESPN. I remember when the UFC, I remember when like WEC was on Spike TV. Like, that's when I started watching MMA as a kid. The UFC on Spike, or WEC on Spike TV, like after like the Man show. So, it's cool to see these different organizations get on, different platforms. Like when one was like always on Prime, like I thought that was kind of dope too. One kind of fell to pieces, but whatever. When PFL got on ESPN Plus, I thought that was really great. I'm curious to see how that impacts. I'm just curious to see how this impacts PFL, because I wonder if people that watch PFL are just like carryover people that are just like, they're not MMA fans, they're UFC fans, and they're just there like, oh, this is MMA too, and they just like turn it on. But maybe those people now just delete ESPN Plus because they only had it for MMA and they just like moved to something else. I'll get rid of ESPN Plus. There's nothing on there for me after this. I don't watch other sports. Like, I do combat sports. I watch boxing and I watch MMA. Maybe I'll chuck on a karate combat. I don't watch American football. I'm an American, but like, I'm not spending, if I'm not watching combat sports, I'm outside, on my boat going fishing, or with my wife on the boat, or, chilling with my dogs, or out in the woods somewhere. I don't watch football or basketball. I do combat sports, and then I go outside the real American way. I'm literally like wearing a Loophole rifle scopes hat. So I'll be quick to get rid of ESPN Plus. I don't watch any of that crap. No offense if you do. But I'll have to re-download Paramount Plus because I canceled the subscription last night because my 1-week free trial was over. So I'll be re-downloading Paramount Plus apparently, but in a few months. But just a really cool endeavor for the UFC. I'm very curious to see what this means. It's a 7-year deal worth like $7.75 billion, some incredibly high number. But worst case scenario, it's just as bad as what we've got now on ESPN Plus. Moving on, final segment of the show, in with the new. We're going to talk about UFC 319, and I'm going to pick 2 fights. I actually talked about Lerone Murphy and Aaron Pico, and I'll give you a quick pick on it. I think I'm leaning Aaron Pico, even though most people are kind of going Lerone Murphy. I just don't think Lerone Murphy is a dangerous enough opponent to punish Aaron Pico, where he, Aaron Pico's biggest weakness is I just don't think he's the most durable dude, but he's like a super athlete. Lerone Murphy's not a very dangerous fighter, so I think Aaron Pico may have what it takes to win that fight. That's all you're going to get with that. We're going to talk about middleweights. This is a middleweight themed a middleweight themed show. Past couple weeks have been all about middleweights. We talked about Fluffy and Delije at the top of the show. Now at the back end of the show, we're going to shoot into Jared Cannonier taking on Michael Venom Page. Michael Venom Page said, fuck it, I'm almost 40. I'm like 38, 39. And I'm just going to stay at I'm going to stay at middleweight. He's 38. His birthday's in April, so next year in April, he'll be 39. Last time out, he kind of beat the UFC Saudi card Golden Goose guy in Shara Bullet. Since then, Shara Bullet has won another fight. He's taking on Jared Cannonier. This should be a really interesting, and I think this fight could be pretty fun. Let me give you the odds on this fight. Michael Venom Page is a -180 favorite. Jared Cannonier is a +150 dog. And this fight could be really, really interesting because, yeah, last time out, they both won. They both look pretty good. Jared Cannonier, this is just we're also keeping up with the theme of the unks. Like, this is just another unk-ass fight, too. Jared Cannonier last time out, he defeated Hobocop, where he got hurt really bad in the first round and then, just hung tough and started pulling away. And then by the fourth round, he started lumping up Hobocop and knocked him out, finished him TKO to strikes. Before that, he lost to Caio Bahayo in a pretty close fight where he finally got hurt in the fifth round. Before that, he did get knocked out late against Nasruddin Imavov. Before that, he had that fight where he got hurt early against Marvin Vettori and then just beat the fuck out of Marvin Vettori. I think Jared Cannonier is the reason why Marvin Vettori has kind of fallen off, and you can tell he's slowed down, definitely getting hurt more. The damage Marvin Vettori took from Jared Cannonier was fucking incredible. And he has a win over Sean Strickland. That was a good win. That was close. Jared Cannonier is, he's been in the UFC. He's fought, the dude has a really, really low-key, incredible UFC. He's got an RDA type UFC record at middleweight. And definitely not as deep as RDA's record, but he's, he fought at heavyweight. He's got knockouts at heavyweight. He's got knockouts in all three divisions that he's fought in. He's defeated dudes like Iwan Kutalaba. He's fought Glover Teixeira. He fought Jan Blachowicz. He fought Dominic Reyes. He fought Anderson Silva. He fought Robert Whitaker. He fought Kelvin Gastelum. He fought Derek Brunson. He fought Israel Adesanya. He fought Sean Strickland. He fought Vettori. He fought Imavov, Bahayo, Hobocop. The dude's fought a bunch of fucking killers. And, definitely not MVP, who has not fought the amount of killers. He was a big star over at Bellator, and, he's got the win over Douglas Lima. He also got knocked out bad by Douglas Lima. He's got the dub over Paul Daly. That was really, really close that he arguably lost, but he has not fought nearly the killers that Jared Cannonier. I mean, not even close. This is a really interesting fight for me because Jared Cannonier is a guy that has been hurt in literally all of his last fights, but he's so fucking tough. He is chiseled out of stone. He's really, really shredded. He's fairly large for the division. Incredible leg kicker. He's got big power with his hands. And over time, he is a little bit old, but he did get into MMA a little bit later in life. Come from a military background prior to that. He just seems like he's gotten he's gotten more wise with his age. He's just gotten smarter and better at fighting, which what happens, he's in, he fights out of the MMA lab. He's just there. That's his thing. This past weekend he was, who was he coaching? I forget whose corner he was this past weekend. But DC was wow, look at Jared Cannonier. He's giving really good coaching advice. And it's yeah, dude, he's gotten smart. MVP, a guy that is just super fast, fights with his hands down, kind of uses this in and out bobbing style with tons and tons of feints. And he wants to freeze you up and explode with something and just he is going from outside of kicking range into boxing range. But he does nothing right. If you showed his striking to a technical, like a boxing coach, you'd be oh my God, he's flying through the air and his hands, his whole entire upper body is leaning way over his front foot or whatever. He's a big single strike fighter. He's really, really fun and incredible. He's a showman. He looked spinning elbow that he set up on Kevin Holland. How he kind of just froze Shara Bullet with feints. Shara Bullet had no idea what to do with him. In a fight like this, I think there are clear paths for MVP, where MVP could try to take the same, approach where he's going to, try to freeze up Cannonier, try to just use in and out with the feints, try to explode and use his, superior speed. For 38 years old, like, he's still probably like the fastest dude when it comes to like closing distance and landing. Khamzat Chimaev is probably the fastest dude that can close range in this division, but being second behind that, not that bad. In this fight, I actually think that there's probably more clear ways for Cannonier to win as long as his durability holds up. Fortunately for him, MVP is like a single strike guy. Like, he wants to ice you with one shot. And we have seen Cannonier get hurt, and we have seen him on wobbly legs. Like, he's not a dude that just gets fucking iced in one shot. However, he's in his 40s, and if anyone ices him with one shot, it could be someone like MVP. But let's look at the Israel Adesanya fight, who is another big elusive striker who has even higher volume, who's a low volume guy himself, but has higher volume than MVP, has probably better elusive footwork than MVP, and it comes from a camp that has like better game planning all around. And there was a lot of moments in that fight where Cannonier was just able to press Adesanya up against the cage. And I think that's what Cannonier does here. I think he's going to try to leg kick MVP to bits. The dude's got one of the best leg kicks in the division. And I think he's going to try to march forward, press MVP up against the cage, beat him up in the clinch, try to get him to the ground. This will be like the biggest opponent that MVP's fought. Like, if MVP had issues with Logan Storley, like, Jared Cannonier is not the wrestler, but he's twice the size and 5 times as strong. He's going to have the ability to probably make this fight slow and grimy. Going to probably try to drag MVP to the ground. And newsflash, Jared Cannonier is like a top 5 ground and pound in the UFC. Like, you get stuck under Cannonier, you're fucked. He's going to elbow your head off. Give me Cannonier to win this fight, where Cannonier is just such a well-schooled fighter at this time. Like, I trust him to go out there, chop the leg, push him against the cage, try to win the clinch battles, try to take him to the ground, and just make this grimy. Like, make this look like a Kamaru Usman fight, Kamaru Usman's fight with Tyron Woodley with leg kicks mixed in. Moving on to the main event, we have the champion Dricus still knocks du Plessis. He's taking on Khamzat Chimaev. I actually think these dudes have 2 really cool nicknames, like Still Knocks, like that's a dope nickname, and Boars, like the Chechen translation of wolf. I just think they're both good nicknames. There's some really bad ones in MMA. Odds on this fight. Khamzat Chimaev is a favorite here, minus 220. Dricus du Plessis is coming back at plus 180 odds. And boy, oh boy, this is kind of the fight we're all waiting for, right? Like, this should be an absolute fucking banger, because Dricus du Plessis is in a banger over and over again. He's always in a banger. And Khamzat Chimaev is also always in either a banger or a one-sided shellacking. I don't know how to feel about this fight. This is the most obvious, like, Khamzat Chimaev under 2.5 rounds, or Dricus du Plessis 4th round stoppage type of like gamble, if you're like a gambling man or a woman. If I just look at these guys' records, Dricus has beat a ton of real good dudes, and like, he goes out there and beats Khamzat. Like, sorry, Adesanya, but like, you may have to move over as the 2nd best middleweight on the roster. I mean, this dude is undefeated in the UFC, and like, and a win over Khamzat would be huge. It's so funny. Like, I was watching tape for this fight, like watching his fight with Trevin Giles and Marcus Perez and Brad Tavares. Like, and even Darren Till. He had so many, like, everyone that thinks that like Khamzat has this like weakness where like he lost a round of a fight, he lost a round against Burns, a prime Gilbert Burns, who like almost knocked out Kamaru Usman, and then he like also lost a round against Kamaru Usman. Like, y'all must not have been watching the tape, because Dricus is like the most whimsical, goofy, discombobulated, uncoordinated, incredibly awesome guy that I've like ever watched tape on, where he is just like, it's a good thing he's an MMA fighter, because he can never be a boxer. Like, any counter puncher that can like L step and throw straight would fucking kill him. There are just moments where he is like just walking forward, throwing big hooks, like switching stance, just throwing hammers at his opponents. And he's throwing like 4 or 5 punch combinations. All of them are missing until like you just can't get out of the way of the last one. And he's like fucking cracking you with it. Like, he was crushing Brad Tavares with these like weird combinations, throwing these like weird kicks. They're so herky jerky. I was watching him do like some wrestling for this, like there's just like some training video that went out like a couple weeks ago. So obviously training for this fight in 319, and like doing like some escapes, and like just, it's crazy how Dricus, and it's like the only guy I've ever seen where he's got this ability to like, it's like if you and I, listener, were in a car and we both have the same destination, and like, there's a, we could just take the highway. It's right off the highway. Dricus doesn't take the highway. Dricus doesn't take the path less traveled. He takes the path that's never been traveled. Homie's going over the mountains. He's like fucking bushwhacking, but somehow, some way, he still gets there. Like, he gets into these like crazy positions, doing all the wrong things. It's like he was only ever shown how to like finish a rear naked choke, but he was never shown how to set up a rear naked choke. It was like he was shown how to land an overhand, but never thrown the overhand. It's just really weird and interesting and very fun to watch. And then you got Khamzat Chimaev, who is just a lights out, maybe an understatement, which is like this lights out ability to shoot takedowns from, covering an incredible amount of space. Really, really good chain wrestling. What he does that slept on is his submission game, where he's able to chain wrestle and chain submissions together, like that Darce choke that he hit Kevin Holland. Like, he changed the grip on that choke like 7 times. The way he crushed the Leech, poor Leech, doing tape study for this card. We saw the Leech get absolutely killed. Like, twice Carlos Pratas killed the Leech, and so did Khamzat Chimaev. Also, this card's got couple people that used to be in Bellator. 2 Bellator big names are on this card in there, Pico and MVP. Just realizing that now. Khamzat. He himself is a flawed fighter, but I don't think there's a more flawed fighter on the roster when it comes to like technique and like tape study than Dricus. Like, literally, he does so much stuff wrong, but it works. That's what makes it so incredible, and it just makes every fight a dog fight, because if he didn't have these like holes in his games, Dricus du Plessis is like a ball of muscle, like where we've seen him hurt and he just like recovers. People say he has bad cardio. He does this little breathing technique where he doesn't slow down. But watching tape, like, I can't get away from the Derek Brunson fight and the Robert Whittaker fight that du Plessis had. Like, I'm going to just forget about the Brad Tavares and the Trevin Giles and the Marcus Perez fight, because like he was getting lit up in those fights and he still found a way to win, that's why we love Dricus. But like the wrestling success that like Robert Whittaker was just like able to go out there and get a takedown. And I mean, Dricus du Plessis hit Robert Whittaker with literally the most wonky WMMA hip toss to like crushing guard pass and fucked up Robert Whittaker. But like, I just can't, like, the success that those dudes had, and Brunson himself. Brunson is like the best wrestler that Dricus ever fought, and Brunson himself had like success grappling. If Khamzat Chimaev does not get a finish in under 7.5 minutes, then it's probably all Dricus. But Khamzat is probably the first opponent that Dricus has fought that can truly match his physicality. He may not be. I mean, there was a moment I was doing tape study. There was a scramble where like Dricus du Plessis literally just bench pressed all of Derek Brunson off of him, like absolutely fucking incredible. But I cannot get away from Khamzat Chimaev's speed and Dricus's just clumsiness. Like he's always like overthrowing things, spinning out of things, getting his feet crossed, stumbling around. Like if you are clumsy and you get toppled over and Khamzat Chimaev is within 5 feet of you, Khamzat is so fast himself. His ability to take the back. And I think against like Usman, Khamzat Chimaev, the fight was kind of put together on short notice. Khamzat Chimaev has changed camps. He's got like an Olympic wrestling coach. He's got like real deal fucking people in his camp. He's always been surrounded by good people because he's like a phenom. But he seems to have his health in order where he said he doesn't go out anymore. Like he, you know, ever since having COVID he's like an immunocompromised guy. Maybe he has like lupus or something or like something. I don't, you know, I'm not a fucking doctor, but like, you know, maybe he has some sort of like autoimmune disease where he picks up sicknesses. So he's just been like staying in the gym, staying, you know, healthy. Khamzat's ability to take advantage of like Kamaru Usman like that, where like no one has done that. And Kamaru Usman is a big, strong dude himself who's like a significantly better wrestler than Dricus. Dricus is a good wrestler in all the wrong ways, which makes him great at it. Like, you know, his ability to like be dying and grab Izzy's ankle and just like he's got to be like incredibly strong. But Khamzat's going to be able to match that physicality. He's going to be able to surpass him with speed. Khamzat's probably like the fastest dude in the UFC. At 185 pounds, he probably has a faster shot than like every flyweight. Like he's got a faster shot than like a prime Demetrius Johnson or prime Henry Cejudo. It's fucking incredible. Like he's got the fastest shot I've ever seen in MMA at middleweight. But I think even like the Kamaru Usman fight, Khamzat was overly searching for the choke, where he should have just been fucking punching him behind the ears. And let's not forget Khamzat's fight with like Gerald Meerschaert. Like he himself is a big puncher. He dropped Gilbert Burns with the jab. Poor Gilbert gets dropped by everybody with the jab. Like crushed Gerald Meerschaert with that straight cross down the pike against the cage. Just boom, hit him once. You know, he's crushed dudes like Ikram Aliskirov with uppercuts. I just think his ability to take Dricus down. Dricus is just so clumsy. Like Dricus is so big and hardy and strong that like he may be able to just like, we may see like a 10-8 round in the first round, but then Khamzat's breathing a little heavy, and then all of a sudden Dricus is like throwing that crazy 5-punch combination where the last one is crushing Khamzat. We've seen Khamzat hurt and drop before by Gilbert Burns. We've seen both of these guys compromised in fights. I'm recording this on Monday, but maybe by Friday I change my pick to Dricus. But right now I'm on Khamzat. I just think he's just way too much of an athletic phenom. He's going to take the back. He's going to take him down, take the back, and probably finish with ground and pound, or it's incredible ground and pound from Khamzat, just violent. I think he's going to go ground and pound and then force a choke. Maybe he forces Dricus to turn in from the back, and then he like gets in head and arm choke or hits him with like a rear naked choke. But give me Khamzat to get a first round finish over Dricus du Plessis and become the new middleweight champion. I could totally be wrong. If Dricus du Plessis wins, it's going to be awesome and great and a fucking hell of a time. But I'm going Khamzat. Guys, that's the show. Thank you so much for tuning in and enjoy the fights.